offer thought. My final point on
This is a clip from Fox News from a Vance interview.
this is when I see far left politicians say, how dare you offer thoughts and prayers? You need action. I don't care about your prayers. I care about what you're going to do to prevent this from happening. Why does it have to be one or the other? Why can't you pray for the speedy recovery of these kids who literally just got shot yesterday, while at the same time committing to making sure this doesn't happen again, or that it happens as infrequently as possible? I don't think there's anything inconsistent about saying a prayer to God for these innocent, beautiful kids, while also thinking constructively about how we're going to prevent this from happening the next time. You can do both of those things. You can hold a thought, both of those thoughts in your head at the same time. And Will, if you are a politician or you're a media commentator and two beautiful babies just got murdered while praying, and your politics force you to condemn prayer in response to it, you ought to get new politics, because something very wrong has gone on inside your soul. My final point on this.
Yeah, God forbid we actually do any gun control ever. God forbid. No, we just need more thoughts and prayers, everybody. Beautiful babies, beautiful kids. Listen, normally I would be very sussed out, but we all know that JD Vance is only attracted to couches. So I think this is the one instance where it's okay. That guy's allowed to say it, because he's definitely masking his love for couches. So it's okay. But there's no reason that every single Democrat shouldn't be tweeting like this and going in like this. Oh, you want to do gerrymandering? Okay, well, try it, bitch. California will never have a single red representative for as long as I'm gruesome Newsom. Send all the homeless people into the homeless crushing machine. You go low, we'll go lower. People wouldn't be so critical of the thoughts and prayers if it actually came with action like gun control? Yeah. And I'm sure, as many of you have seen, all of the rightoids are very, very, very keen on trying to call the shooter trans. I'm sure you guys have seen this story unfolding.
We now know that the Minneapolis shooter, Robert Westman, was a mentally disturbed young man who, at the age of 17, with the approval of his mother, went trans and changed his name to Robin. Predictably, as with so many kids lured into this world, things got worse. Robert, then Robin, descended into darkness. 5 years later, he expressed regret about what he had done in a desire to detransition. Now, according to a translation of the purported manifesto, Westman wished he hadn't brainwashed himself and hadn't questioned his gender identity, writing that while he knows he wasn't a
Also, didn't know Robin was a gendered name.
woman, he didn't feel like a man. Now, we don't know what sort of treatment he got, if any, but we do know that there needs to be an investigation into how so-called gender-affirming care...
You know, it's so frustrating, because if I may, I want to consider. I may? Okay, thank you. Gender is such a spectrum. And if it wasn't for soulless Republican pieces of shit, we could actually have conversations about gender and gender expression in a healthy way with the people around us. But because we can't have that because of these soulless ghouls, no one gets to have these conversations ever. There's Reddit will sometimes recommend me random subreddits on my phone, which initially I hated, but as time has gone on, I love it, because it'll also recommend me random subreddits that make no sense. Like this morning, when I was peeing, it suggested me this one, and it suggested me a post on this subreddit. The subreddit is called antigym, and it's a subreddit dedicated to being against the gaslighting people receive to go to the gym, which is a destructive activity that destroys your joints, stresses and ages the body, and leads to body dysmorphia. And I saw a post that said, are the people in here joking or are they serious? I genuinely can't tell. Like, these things it doesn't hurt. Having more muscle is actually good for your joints. It's one of the best things you can do to maintain good joint health, because then instead of all of the weight and like the stresses of gravity being on your joints, it's on your muscles instead. Obviously, you shouldn't take steroids. Steroids are not beneficial for you. And obviously, you shouldn't look like the fucking Liver King. Yes, that'll kill you fast. Having like most of your body be like muscle, veins, and whatever the fuck he was eating, cow balls or whatever, cow testicles. I don't know what the fuck these people eat. Yeah, that's not good for you. I know. crazy concept here, but like a healthy amount of working out is very good for you. Moving on. One subreddit that got recommended to me was this one subreddit called Real D Trans. And it was actually like a really wholesome subreddit. And it made me really mad that detransitioners have, as we know of them, have completely shitified the conversations that queer people can have about conversations regarding transitioning. Because even think about, like, let's not even talk about being trans. Let's talk about just sexuality, right? There's a lot of people that go through a lot of different labels in their life before they settle on one that they feel comfortable with. There's a lot of people that think that they're straight, and then they think that they're questioning, and then they think that they're bi, and then they realize, oh, I'm just a lesbian or whatever. And there's a lot of people that think that they're lesbians and then realize that they're bi, or people who think that they're gay and then realize that they're whatever the fuck, right? That you try on what you think will feel comfortable for you until you find one that actually fits you, right? So if you're trying to go bra shopping for the first time ever, you're like, maybe this one will fit. No, maybe this one will fit. No. You don't put on the wrong size bra and you're like, clearly the problem is bras. Clearly, no one should be wearing bras, which low-key kind of true, honestly, low-key. But anyways, no, I'm just kidding. Big tittied girls need bras for the support. It's real hard life for them. They need it for the support, dude. I'm sorry. But it's sort of the same thing there, where even I've spoken to trans people who felt that they were maybe that they were a trans woman or that they were a trans man, and they considered going on HRT, or they did go on HRT, and or they got top surgery, and then later they realized, no, they're just like non-binary. And they're still happy that they went on the hormones that they did and that they went on the journey that they did. And they still know for sure that they wanted to get top surgery, right? But they realize, oh, well, actually, I'm not really attached to either of these labels. I just don't really care about performing any of these. And so like the real D-trans subreddit is actually, I'm not gonna lie, I was reading it and like I was like tearing up with some of the posts in there, where there were some people that were trans men who talked about how they're really happy, honestly, even though they realized later that they aren't a trans man. They realized that they were really happy because it was very freeing to stop presenting as a woman all the time because the burden was so brutal on them. And that was what was causing them so much stress. And then being freed from that allowed them to stop feeling like they need to perform all the time for everybody else. So yeah, K-Cat, exactly. Most transitioners are actually really just cool, normal people who still support trans folk. And the real D-trans subreddit, I recommend going to it. There's like a lot of people that are like, I found the other subreddit and it's like such a disgusting, hateful place. And even if you want to consider it, all these people treat you like you're an abomination and all this other stuff. And it's like, damn, that's fucked up, dude. That's really fucked. So yeah, my trans mass non-binary friend is like that, still really happy about their top surgery, still on HRT, just different pronouns and not performing hypermasculinity anymore. Yeah, and I've spoken to trans people that I've known personally that were trans men, or yeah, they transitioned and they wanted to be a trans man, and after that, after going on hormones, getting top surgery, which they don't regret at all, they're like, actually, I think I'm just non-binary. I think actually I just don't really care. I just didn't want to be called a woman, but I don't think I want to be called a man either. I just want to be I just want to be a sexy creature that people think about and they're like, what, why am I attracted? Or what are you? Right? Which honestly, so respectable. Low-key kind of based as fuck. That's interesting to hear about wholesome. Yeah. And so like, it makes me so depressed because people who are detransitioners, whether that means like getting off hormones, whether that means realizing that, you know, you're not particularly tied to the label of man or woman, like that should be a conversation people should be allowed to have without all of this extra baggage of like, you're ruining yourself, you're making a terrible decision, you don't know what you're doing, all this other shit, right? And there's all the stigma that has to come with that. And so it's like, It's so depressing because if we lived in an actual progressive society, we could have that and that wouldn't be so fucking taboo. And that wouldn't be so awful for people to talk about. And instead, God forbid you even consider detransitioning, you immediately get fucking used by the right. God forbid. Oh, and not to mention the fact that like this rate is still really low. And the vast majority, and I ran into this when I was looking at the subreddit, the vast majority of people that detransition do so because they feel like they're getting like the worst of both worlds, where they aren't getting treated like a person. And they have to deal with so much transphobia because they don't personally feel like they can pass, or other people around them are transphobic. And it's easier to live with gender dysphoria than it is to live with transphobia. And that's like a vast majority of detransitioners, which is already so fucking depressing, dude. Jesus Christ. Like, I think the only hate that should be acceptable is shaming trans women into learning how to do their eyeliner first at home before going out with it. Listen, as a woman, it took me many years to get good at my eyeliner, and I left the house many a time looking like a really stupid raccoon. And girl, if it doesn't look like the photo, just wipe it and try again tomorrow. It doesn't look good. It looks like you took a crayon and did this. This is my tough love for all. If there are any trans women in chat right now, this is my tough love for you. Just get some tape. When you're learning how to do it, just put a little scotch tape right here. Okay? All right? And personally, I like liquid pens. Okay? I don't like the crayon. I know other people like the crayon, but this is my tough love. If you guys are open to it and open to listening to it, okay? Until you get to that point, just put a piece of scotch tape right here so you can have a nice sharp winged liner. Okay? It takes like a lot of dexterity and hand-eye coordination before you get there. All right. With peace and love. With peace and love. All right. And if you're struggling to find a good one, guys, I just got like the best eyeliner. I just got the best one on the planet. This shit is dope. I asked a friend who her eyeliner never comes off. I was like, what the fuck do you use? And it's the Stila. And this shit is amazing. This shit is like, it really does not come off. This one has like the tiny tip and the not so tiny tip. This one is Stila. This shit is amazing. Okay? That's the only thing I think that they should be shamed for, all right? And also buying all your clothes off of Amazon. Stop. Don't do that. Okay? Everyone can tell that you shop on Amazon. With peace and love, I'm telling this to you because I care about you, okay? That's why I'm saying this, all right? But like why can't that be why does the bullying have to be about like them being who cares if they're trans?
I've been here too long.
We should care more about the awful eye makeup I've seen out there in the world, okay? And the awful Amazon furniture that I've seen out there in the world, okay? You got to go to a thrift store. You got to go to the thrift store. You got to power through. Moving on. When will Fox News have a segment on eyeliner? They're the queens of Republican makeup. They will never do that. All right. Moving on. Stop clocking the baby trans. It's a natural stage in the progression. I know. I feel like someone else needs to tell. I wish someone had told me that my eyeliner looked like shit back in the day. And I'm trying to be that person. All right? That's all. That's all I'm trying to say. As someone who loves eyeliner, that's all I'm trying to say. They just didn't get to have that face because they weren't like a woman when they were a teenager. Yeah, exactly. Listen, shopping while boy moding is super hard. Okay, I believe you on that. That's brutal. That is brutal. But, okay. So, TLDR on this. It's like really depressing to me to think about the fact that like, God forbid that you have the audacity to be trans in our society. And then you have the audacity to think, maybe I'm not a trans woman. Maybe I'm not a trans man. Maybe I'm this secret third thing. Or maybe this wasn't the decision I wanted to make. Or maybe I was dealing with this and this and this. And you want to detransition. Like, you without your consent, get used by the fucking right to convince everybody else that being trans is bad. Like, what a fucking brutal shit show that you must have, like, to deal with.
Is impacting our kids.
This is the second shooting involving a trans-identifying shooter who specifically targeted Christians and Catholics.
And how many straight white dudes are there? Like 6 billion that fucking did school shootings? Are we fucking serious?
Trans people have committed less than 0.001% of the school shootings in the U.S. in the past 5 years, while making up about 1% of the population. Trans people are less likely to commit a shooting than cis men or even cis women. Just like the prayer thing, this panic over trans people that the right-wing politicians and Fox News are perpetuating is a distraction to keep you from asking for common-sense gun control that would cost their donors profits. They do not care about our Second Amendment rights. They only care about their profits. They want you to fight our trans neighbors so they can divide and conquer us.
Kids. What kind of consequences do the gender-affirming therapists, doctors, or even the parents of these shooters face after these types of shootings?
You know what's the common thread between all of these shooters? Between the vast majority of shooters? That they're right-wing Nazis! It's like, I feel like... Sorry, I know that Fox News is being disingenuous, but did we not all know about, like, the fucking weird 4chan, like, femboy Nazi shit? Like, what? I don't know. I think it's more relevant that they were a Nazi. I think that that's more relevant than them. Maybe, as an idea, maybe the violent ideology that they upheld was more important than their gender. Crazy, right? I don't know.
Brought to you by BlackRock.
This is in this now deleted video. Alleged Minneapolis church shooter Robin Westman told supporters to vote for Republican House candidate Brandon Herrera. I met Brandon Herrera at SHOT Show last year. He and I had a brief conversation. We agreed on a lot of things, so you guys should vote for him. But of course, Fox News can't talk about the fact that he was an open right-winger, an open Nazi. They have to talk about trans.
By Pabst Blue Ribbon. Brandon Herrera for president. Yeah, I met Brandon Herrera at SHOT Show last year. He and I had a conversation, a brief conversation, but I think we agreed on a lot of things. So, y'all should vote for Brandon Herrera for president. And, Vintage Warfare promotes love and peace and accepting differences. Tomorrow, I'm sorry to my family. But that's it. That's the only people I'm sorry.
Really? That's not more important than the gender of the person, really?
HHS is investigating perhaps links between some of these drugs and these prescription drugs that some of these minors may be taking and an increase in violence.
This also doesn't make any sense because right-wingers are the first people to always talk about how testosterone makes men men, and that's why boys are boys, because when you're pumping testosterone, you get really violent. But it's like, wouldn't they have been taking puberty blockers for the testosterone? Wouldn't that be the opposite then right now? What?
Discuss is Dr. Drew Pinsky, host of
Oh my God. Dr. Drew, please.
Dr. Drew and Chief Patient Officer for the Wellness Company. Dr. Drew, Minnesota Democrats, you know, they brag about being a safe haven for trans youth and adults. They celebrate and elevate transgenderism, including in schools. You've seen it at cultural events. Jacob Fry's taken part in some of these. But isn't it time to have a serious conversation about, like, a federal ban on any gender treatment of any kind at any medical facility, at least when it involves minors?
Oh boy, it's a heavy question. But the reality, though, is, look, the fact that we take this treatment and we don't contemplate the context in which it occurs, and we bureaucratize and centralize and politicize the practice of medicine, you're going to have bad outcomes. This kid had a context that was much more serious problem than was his gender feelings. The reality is it's like treating a fever when somebody has a pneumonia. You miss the underlying condition. And the reality also...
So you agree then? Like, this is the Regina George moment. So you agree then it has nothing to do with that person's gender identity and had everything to do with the fact that they felt wronged by this country in whatever way and in whatever shape and form? That if someone is having mental health issues, maybe that's why they shot up a school or shot up a church or whatever. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe that's why. And not the gender identity.
Also is, Laura, that there are people that do benefit from care, properly selected, properly timed. But we spend no energy figuring out who those patients are. So we're giving one size fits all, which only ends up in what looks to all of us like harm, as opposed to any potential benefit for anybody.
Dude, I fucking wish that the percentage of people that think, sorry, you know how like Americans think that every single minority group is giga overrepresented? They think that like 20% of the population is Jewish, but also that 20% of the population is Muslim, but also that 40% of the population is black. Like they think like every single group is way more overrepresented than they actually are. And like these numbers are like 1%, 2%. And they think like 10% of the population is trans or some crazy shit. I wish that like half our population was trans so people could actually fucking go and talk to trans people. Because if you went and spoke to any trans people, you would know it's not a one size fits all. It's very difficult to get HRT. It's very difficult to get surgery. It's a long, drawn out process where you have to get, first of all, a mental health specialist before you could even start this process. And a lot of the time you have to wait for like a year or 2 years before you even get to start any of these things. You can talk to trans people, buy HOI4 and join the community. That's true. That is true. That's actually true. If you just get into strategy games, you can immediately talk to like a lot of trans people. This is true.
So do you think giving puberty blockers or even green lighting surgery for minors can be a good thing?
I'm not clear about surgery, but I've seen many cases in which somebody, as they hit puberty, not getting puberty blockers, just getting hormonal therapies, are carefully assessed for many months, sometimes years, and then are told they're going to be taking dangerous medicines for the rest of their life. They have to take these things. They're very circumspect about it. They understand they have a condition. These are dangerous medicines, and it's not to be willy-nilly applied to anybody who might have a funny feeling about who they are.
And again, like, I highly recommend, honestly, people go to like the real detrans subreddit, because basically every single post I saw in there was either people saying that they're happy that they went on their journey, even if the destination wasn't correct, because it helped them build a better worldview about themselves and their gender. Or people saying, by the way, just because this decision wasn't right for me, it doesn't mean that I want anything to be changed. Like, so I went through, going through this process was very time consuming and very difficult. And it the procedures that I got or the drugs I got help so many people. Just because it didn't help me doesn't mean it's not right. Doesn't mean we should just remove it altogether. I mean, again, you can treat it like any type of surgery. Any type of, like, what's the rate on like hip replacement surgery? What's the success rate or like the satisfaction rate? Isn't it like obscenely low? Or sorry, high, excuse me, obscenely high relative to detransitioning.
Only 3% of hip replacement patients regret their hip replacement. Only 1% of patients receiving gender-affirming surgery regret their surgery.
Yeah, transgenderism among young people, Dr. Drew,
Regret
is
rate.
skyrocketing, we understand. So trans kids ages 13 to 17 make up more than a quarter of the entire trans population. So when you look at Minnesota, where the shooting happened, the transgender rate there among 18 to 24-year-olds is the highest in the United States.
Do I need to pull up the left-handed chart? Guys, left-handedness has doubled in the past year. We're bound to have everyone be left-handed.
We need to look at this as seriously as we look at rates of, say, something like autism, where you're not allowed to ask. All these years, we've not been allowed to ask what is going on. Why are these rates going up?
Let's go back. What is he saying? Autism, you're not allowed to ask?
As seriously as we look at rates of, say, something like autism, where you're not allowed to ask. All these years, we've not been allowed to ask what is going on. Why are these rates going up? There's a reason here. Contagion has been suspected. There's all sorts of concerns about medications, of course, but there's something going on, and we need to understand what that is and stop merely
What is this soulless stare from this fucking dude?
slapping something
What
on
is
the
this?
surface and looking deeper. Humans are complicated. Our brains are complicated. And
It's almost like a lot of people who are able to function without high support systems are still autistic. That our idea of autism being this one very, very, very niche small category where you need, it's like, I forget the technical term, but it's like someone who needs a high support system. That there are people that are autistic that aren't in that category. Crazy. Like, didn't fucking Jacksepticeye literally make a video like a year ago about being autistic?
And just giving some paste on the outside is not going to solve what's going on necessarily on the inside.
Do you think that, given what we've learned about this individual, that it's even conceivable that there weren't major red flags about a potential episode, perhaps a violent one, brewing here? We had lots of problems, obviously lots of disciplinary issues and other problems, but
yes,
this doesn't happen overnight.
No, it does not. They're absolutely categorically had the very. This is what is so disgusting to me, and frankly ashames me of my profession, that they focused on this one issue of care and miss the important context of what was going on with this kid. I don't want to say I feel sorry for a perpetrator like this, but is this kid better because of the care he got from the medical system? Are any of these kids that have shot places up and had transgender treatments better because they got transgender treatment? Something is very wrong.
Yes. Yes.
With how we're approaching this treatment, and we need to solve that problem.
Well, European countries are beginning to ban it, have banned it.
What, like Poland?
I think our whole country has to have a serious conversation about this. Dr. Drew, it's always great to have you on. Thank you so much.
You mean like all 3 of the people who shot up places and were trans? Yeah. Fucking pathetic, dude. I'm literally only alive due to HRT. So is one chatter. I mean, it's just so, what a joke, dude. You want to know how to get people to stop shooting up places? Make guns a little bit harder to access. Just a little. And you will solve the school shooting, church shooting, public spaces shooting, mass shooting crisis. I can't believe people watch Fox News, dude. Oh, it's like, I'm getting my headache again. I've been dealing with a lot of like, interesting. Why did Denims mention Poland? Oh, because Poland is hyper-conservative. Hyper-Christian, hyper-conservative. Or would it be considered Catholic? I always mix it up. Poland is Catholic. Yeah. Okay. Catholics are still Christians, so it's okay. Yeah, I just know that like some people get really mad. They call themselves Catholics and you call them a Christian. They're like, dude, not cool. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. My bad, dude. Sorry.